The drama around the supplementary election in Adamawa State is one that the Independent National Electoral Commission will do all it can to rectify. The resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in the state, Hudu Yunusa had declared Aisha Binani Dahiro, candidate of the All Progressives Congress, as the winner of the Adamawa State governorship election, when results from 10 local government areas had not been announced. To this effect, INEC has now withdrawn its delegated powers from Hudu Yunusa as the resident electoral commissioner for the state. Accordingly, he has been directed to stay away from the commission's office in Adamawa State forthwith. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss the Adamawa supplementary election is Bolaji Ayorinde, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Mr. Ayorinde, good morning. Welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Ruben Abati. Good morning, Mr. Kayode, and good morning, Ayo Mario Ese.
Good morning.
Good to see all of you.
Well, very quickly, two major developments, in fact, maybe three or even more from Adamawa State. The resident electoral commissioner has been suspended and asked to stay away. Two, Aisha Dahiro, popularly known as Binani, has now approached the Federal High Court, asking that an ex parte order should be granted, preventing anybody, including INEC, from taking any further step about the election in Adamawa until the determination of the suit. What's your take on the emerging crisis, or rather the emergent crisis in Adamawa State with regard to the gubernatorial election?
Well, thank you, Doctor. Let me not make any comment on the matter before the court. As you, Dr. Abati, being a lawyer, you will know that the matter is sub judice and it may be prejudicial for us to discuss what the outcome of that application will be. But with regards to the crisis in general, your sister publication this day came out, was it yesterday or day before yesterday, and said we had reached a new low in the management of our electoral process. And it is indeed shameful that we can go this low. And I'm afraid, with the way things are going, we may even get lower. The issue of declaration of results is well taken care of by the Electoral Act. A declaration cannot just be made by anybody. Even the chairman of INEC, Professor Yakubu, cannot come to Adamawa to declare the result. It has to be by the returning officer, who is publicly known. The names of the returning officers are made known to the public before the elections. And Adamawa has a returning officer. And again, the declaration is a matter of, it's a formal declaration in Form EC8E. It is there. It is to be signed by the returning officer. Nobody can come from anywhere, be it a rec or an INEC chairman, and call some people around a microphone with a piece of paper, not the Form EC8E, and say he or she is declaring results. So there has been no declaration for the Adamawa supplementary election as of today, because the only person empowered by law to make the declaration is yet to make that declaration. So there's no declaration. So I don't know, without commenting about the court case, I don't know what the basis for that court action would be, because there is yet to be a declaration.
All right, thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Ayorinde. I'd like you to speak to the news this morning that the officer, the REC, has been suspended by INEC and has been barred from the INEC office in Adamawa. What is the consequence by law for an officer by a REC who did what Malam Ari did over the weekend? What are the punishments? Is it just a suspension by INEC? Are there other things that INEC can do?
Well, Ayo, thank you. We are a country of many laws, but we are very weak on enforcement of laws. And that is why we have all these shenanigans. INEC is weak. The law enforcement agents are weak. Because the moment that fellow took over the coalition center and began to declare results or attempted to pronounce results on a piece of paper, he should have been arrested. He should have been arrested immediately at that point. In fact, all INEC had to do was get the police or whoever to arrest him, and the proper person to finish the declaration comes on stage and finishes it off within another 1 hour or two. So there's no need for all this drama of asking them to come to Abuja, suspending the man. The man should be somewhere now, cooling his heels. He should have been arrested. And when you arrest him, then you find out why he took such an action. The law is very clear. Is to be prosecuted, and if found guilty, is to be jailed. The laws are very strong on this. So I don't see why all the drama of inviting them to Abuja, the drama of suspending the man has to take place. Everything should have happened within 1 hour. Arrest him, let the election be concluded, and prosecute him. That is what should have happened. So there is no need for all this suspension. And I mean, it could be suspended, but by now, certain charges should have been read against him in the court. He will go there to plead guilty. And if there are certain other reasons like unsoundness of mind or all that, then there will be psychiatric evaluation of the man, you know, because it's very strange that somebody can just hold a piece of paper and say he's going there to declare another person as elected governor. You know, under what law? So there are consequences. He should have been arrested immediately, not to be invited to Abuja.
Okay, well, you're a senior advocate, Mr. Ayorinde, so you know that INEC has clearly stated that what happened is an illegality. There is no foundation for it. There is no basis for it. And then, yes, you're not a reverend, you're not a pastor, but it is morally unjust for somebody to do exactly what Yunusa Hudu Ari has done. So on that basis, I'd like you as a Nigerian to help us understand what is wrong with our political system that leads to a situation where there is not a cross-party condemnation of what is deemed as illegal and immoral act by an individual that seemed to have done something completely wrong that even INEC has said is wrong. Why can't we have a complete cross-party condemnation, irrespective of whether you're winning or losing?
Thank you. You see, we do not apply the right standards in appointments of public officers. Now, before you are admitted to a profession like the legal profession, and I know also the medical profession and other professions, even journalism, you know, you are first of all found to be worthy in learning, and that is just one aspect. You must also be found to be worthy in character. And of course, you must have sound mind. You know, so what will make a man do what that fellow did? Just like you wonder, I also wonder, you know, and I think I saw The governor of my state, Seyi Makinde, on TV yesterday, he visited Adamawa, and he made that point that, look, we really have to step up the criteria, the basis for appointment of public officers. You don't just, you know, Dr. Abat is there. He has several degrees. He's a lawyer and all that. But the only reason why he can be in a position is also that he's worthy in character. He must be found worthy in character before you can. That is the problem. So when we bring people and because they have been to one school or the other, and we do not have a basis for looking at their character and for even looking at their minds, and we put them in positions, then, you know, they are bound to do things like what that fellow did. So it's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling to you. It is mind-boggling to me. And this is not about politics, you know, all Nigerians. Because if we do not look at this, what will happen? This day said we have reached a new low, but the possibility of going lower exists. So it is mind-boggling to you. It is mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to Nigerians.
So the question will then be, what do we need to say to our politicians to make them realize that when something is wrong, everybody across party needs to be able to say, this is wrong, this is condemnable. What do we need to do to get them to say that? Whether you're APC, PDP, Labour, ADD, whatever political party it is.
Well, I think with this particular instance, many people of sound mind, sound reasoning, are beginning to speak out, and it is cutting across political lines. There will, of course, be people, we still have people who, and I'm sorry to say, people who otherwise should be much more reasonable, and people who claim to hold respectable positions in society, who do not see beyond PDP won, APC won the election. You know, unfortunately, we still have a lot of Nigerians like that. But in this instance, you will agree with me that the condemnation has been across board, and we have to encourage that. It is when you and I speak out, forgetting about whatever political affiliation, if there's any that we have, you know, that you know, such actions will be condemned, and people will restrain themselves from taking such action in future. So we have to keep trying, and that is the reason why we are having this conversation.
Well, Chief, INEC clearly is in a quandary. INEC has a problematic situation in Adamawa. One of the major parties to the matter has gone to court. INEC says it will meet today, it will meet tomorrow, and maybe on Thursday conclude the process. But between now and that Thursday, anything could happen. Maybe the Federal High Court will grant Aisha Dahiru's prayers. What will you advise INEC to do in this circumstance?
Well, doctor, you know, I will only give legal advice
if you are paid
or retainer,
and consulted.
But speaking generally, first of all, like I said earlier, INEC has been very weak. That act itself of inviting people to Abuja is wrong, or it was wrong. The decision should have been taken on the spot there. Remove the man, arrest him, and get the proper person to conclude the electoral election process and make the proper declaration. But having not done that, and one of the candidates haven't gone to court, even though she, I believe, is seeking for an ex parte order, it is in the public domain. INEC has a right to go to that court and seek leave of the court to be heard in the ex parte application. As you well know, the ex parte should ordinarily be between the applicant and the court, in that, do something for me while I go and serve the other party, then we can all come and state our case. But this time it is in the public domain, and there are instances, there are precedents where the court has said, oh, look, everybody knows about this case now. The other party is here. I want to give him a hearing, accelerated hearing. I will take the case today. I will deliver my ruling tomorrow. And that is all sorted as quickly as possible. So I will advise that INEC takes an immediate step to go to that court today, apply to be heard, file their papers, and there can be a hearing as early as tomorrow morning, and the decision taken tomorrow by that court. It's not difficult. Any judge will look at that and take a decision within 30 minutes.
All right, thank you. I'd like to ask you, from a broader election assessment perspective, we had Dr. Olisa Agbakuba with us last week or a few days back, where he spoke about, in his view, that election matters ought to be sorted out at most in 7 days. It can be sorted out in 7 days. And that pushing for that proposal, going back to the Waste report, that election matters ought to be done and dealt with before Inauguration Day, which is May 29. What's your view on this?
I agree absolutely with Dr. Agbakuba, the very well-respected lawyer, Dr. Agbakuba. I agree with him entirely. There's no rocket science to electoral disputes. The grounds are very clear in the electoral law. Even though lawyers, and not only in Nigeria, all over the world, we have a penchant for filing very bulky documents. We put in everything. But for the judges, especially the judges that sit on these tribunals, they are chosen, and they are usually very experienced judges, from the tribunal level to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. You know, they have the capacity to quickly, sieve away the wheat, the chaff, and know exactly what the points are. And so within 7 to 14 days, most of these petitions should be disposed of. And we can have a clear picture before Inauguration Day. Because, it is, of course, it is unfair to the petitioner if, while you are still battling to reclaim your mandate, if it is indeed your mandate, another person is gallivanting all over the place as the new president. So you probably do not have a level playing field at that point. So it is a very good suggestion. It's a suggestion that has come up several times before. I think it was adopted by the Waste panel. So it's something we should really look at again. But it is doable.
Okay, Mr. Ayorinde, let's put a score to it. Let's assume that we want to grade INEC for primarily the entire election so far, the presidential, National Assembly, state government, state assembly, and all that. If you were to grade them and say, this is how well they have done, what will be the score that you will give them? And then drill in further and look at what has happened in Adamawa especially, and say, is there a grade that you will give them, INEC that is, with regards their response, the speed and the accuracy and the rightness of their response to what has happened in Adamawa? Because I was reading a number of commentators yesterday who said that they should just have immediately taken the man out and make action clear, declare the rest of the result, and let's move on. And whoever loses can go to court.
Exactly. Kayode, I think grading INEC has become extremely difficult in our climes. Let me start from the comments and the gradings by international observers. Now, when they come to Nigeria these days, they seem to put us on a different pedestal than they will put other countries or their home countries. So when they come here, they say, oh, there was an election. Nigerians were very enthusiastic about democracy. They went out to vote. They stood in the sun to show their commitment to democracy. The election was largely peaceful, but there were instances of, then they start reeling out a list of about 10 things that were wrong with the election, like violence, voter suppression, ballot box snatching, and they now list all these negative things and now conclude and say, well, the election has taken place, so be it. Meaning that they have put us on another scale. Now, all the negative things that they have listed out, if half of one of those things should take place in their home countries or wherever they have come from, they would never accept it. So we have to be careful when we are grading. When we start talking about substantial compliance, oh, no election is perfect. Elections are very sensitive. It is either we have a democracy or we do not have one. If we have a democracy, we must allow the people to exercise their franchise. It is not morally right for us to spend a whopping 400 billion naira on preparation for election. And on the day of the election, we start complaining about beavers not working, about glitches, about this, about that. And this is what, without prejudice to whoever has won the election. Because the truth is that it could have been another party that won this kind of flawed elections. So this is not, I'm not speaking against the winner, but I'm also even looking at the winner to say that what about if he had lost in such an election? What would have been your position? Would you have just gone home and say, well, that is my lot? So honestly, and it is not really the fault of the winner, because the winner is a contestant. INEC has a responsibility to organize free, fair, and credible election. If they do not, and if they cannot, then something is wrong with our electoral umpire, and we need to do something about it. Grading the election, like I said, you know, like the international observers have also told us that, okay, yes, you've had an election, but so many things were wrong with that election. So many things have gone wrong with these particular elections. And that is without prejudice to whoever has won, you know. So I think we really need a very, very serious post-mortem of what has gone wrong. And I hope whoever emerges from the tribunal will see this also as a priority. Not only the economy, not only security, but how do we, the process of throwing up leadership in this country is very important.
Well, on that note, we would like to thank you very much, Chief Bolaji Ayorinde, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for joining us on the morning show today.